Hey guys, and welcome to a battle between myself leading the forces of the Greenskins and the mighty Grom up against Rancid Gaul and his forces of Skaven. Looks like he does have Lord Skrolk for his leader here, and we are going to be on Castle Drakenhof. So let's hop in here, have a quick look at the builds, and get into this battle. So we've gone very cheap and cheerful in the front line, which is a good way to go with the Greenskins these days. They have so many cool tools to bring. You don't need to go too hardcore on the front line, but we've gone particularly flimsy here with little goblins who have been chevroned up. Basic Knight Goblins. We also have one unit of Fanatics, including 8 Picaloonies, who are also some Fanatics. We're certainly going to see the different fates that loons can bring to the battlefield. More Goblins as well, just to make ourselves a little bit wider. Now, the reason we want to go relatively wide is because we do have a bit of an archer core to protect. Double Savage Orc Arrow Boys, these guys pretty decent in combat overall. They do take a ton of damage, rocking 0 armor. They do have some war paint and they look very ferocious indeed. And when combined with the forces of the Rusty Arrows, who do give armor sundering, they can certainly pack a punch in long range firepower. I wanted to come with a decent amount of ammunition up against the forces of Skaven, who can bring Hell Pit Abominations, Doom Wheels, all that type of stuff that I may want to take down with long range firepower. Over on the right-hand flank, we do have double Goblin Wolf Chariot. You know, I've been testing out recently after seeing Soothsayer use them in one of my tournaments. And these little goblins look pretty damn awesome. Just having the time of their life, and incredibly happy lads there on top of these very fast-moving chariots. So overall, speed 92, be useful for backline harass, have okay mass themselves to push in, hop on top of Giselles, mortars, that type of stuff. So basically going to be a nice harass unit. We also have some Orc Boar Boys supporting them on this flank, and over on the left-hand side we have double Orc Boar Boys combined with a Black Orc Big Boss, who of course, if you haven't seen the previous replay I did on this guy, does come with some pretty awesome abilities. So he's got Heroic Killing Blow and Get Back here, which is pretty decent, but he also has Dragon Slayer Fang, making him slightly more durable, but Rabble Rouse, so he's making all these guys immune to psychology, so you know Hell Pits aren't going to be able to scare them off quite so easily, as well as +9 melee attack, forming a nice little death blob around Grom the Paunch. One of the first times of me using him, I've used him once or twice before. I do tend to get chariots killed relatively effectively. But he's coming with Axe of Grom here, which is, you know, ups all his attacks and does give -30 armor sundering. He does have Lucky Banner as well to give him some decent damage resistance and melee attack, as well as The Great Un is here. Nice buff all nearby troops, and Language of the Boys, which again gives immune to psychology. So these guys double immune to psychology is pretty nice stuff overall. We also have a Night Goblin Shaman in the back here, kind of Vindictive Glare, Itchy Nuisance, and Curse of the Bad Moon. Now for the forces of the Skaven here, we do have a sneaky assassin pushing forwards, trying to spot my army. Most of it is hidden either by the hill, or of course it is Night Goblins and so forth. In the front line, he has Skaven Slaves and Clan Rats to absorb the initial charge, and just to bog down my troops as much as possible. Double Plague Monks, I quite like this inclusion here. These guys can tear through Greenskin infantry very, very effectively here. Once again, very squishy themselves, much like the Savage Orcs, but Frenzy, anti-infantry, they can certainly pack an absolute punch. We do have Lord Skrolk in the centre pocket as well, come with all the traditional spells you expect from him and war gear. Double Poisoned Wind Mortars to help deal with chaff. On either flank, some more Clan Rats with spears for protection. We have Natty Bobo's Sharpshooters in the centre pocket, who do have Stalk and are very good at sniping out Greenskin characters. A couple of Rat Ogres in the back line for protection, and a gruesome Hell Pit Abomination here, which is just absolutely disgusting. Look at all the little rats kind of forming on its neck. I wonder if they kind of whisper in its ear and talk to it. It'd be quite scary stuff indeed. So without further ado though, let's hop in here. Now, I did know the Natty Bobo Sharpshooters were here. It's quite easy to tell when those guys are around, apart from the fact they shoot purple bolts. There was a big gap in the centre pocket here, but he was still protecting it with the Rat Ogres and so forth, so I assumed something was up. The assassin has been spotted. We're going to loosen 1 or 2 arrows into him just to let him know, send a message that we know you're here, and force him back a little bit as our main body of our force does advance as our cav advances down the flanks. So we are actually going to be coming all the way across the battlefield here with the Goblin Wolf Chariots, trying to hunt down this assassin and bog him in possibly, so I could surround him because he's very overextended. But we are going to be taking shots on the way, but once again, Goblin Wolf Chariots incredibly cheap, and as long as they're shooting these guys, they're not shooting any of our more key targets. So we are pushing up through the trees now. The big cav contingent on the left-hand flank led by Grom is going to be moving in. But it's going to be scary stuff. Skaven are always quite hard to break down. Them and Dwarves can onion incredibly well. You see, we're starting to take a little bit of damage on the Goblin Wolf Chariots, but nothing too telling. And we are making them use up all the ammo and also give away the position of Fanatic Bobos. So we're going to start pushing forward now. We've given up on our pursuit of this assassin here, who has popped Slippery to help escape. And we're just going to start pushing through the front line, running over Skaven slaves, and trying to test my opponent's micro. I want to mess up his formation as much as possible, and kind of reduce the layers of the onion, as Skaven slaves and so forth are pulled out of position by these lads. My Goblin Fanatics have now been hit by 1 or 2 mortar shells, and that's a much better target for him to go for. We are coming with a big overload on that left-hand side, and all our forces are starting to advance it. On the right-hand side, Orc Boar Boys taking a little bit of punishment, but once again, they're going to be trying to wiggle their way through the gap. I believe I do collapse onto the Skaven slaves, actually. And the chariots starting to push through the front, dragging their way through the Skaven slaves, and going to be going on to the Natty Bobu sharpshooters in the back line, as the Orc Boar Boys do start to swoop in from this flank. Other chariots unfortunately did get bogged down next to an assassin and some plague monks, which isn't too good. So in come the Night Goblin Fanatics, going to be engaging with the clan rats here. It's time to do our sneaky stabbings where possible. We are going to be releasing some fanatics along here, but you can see the absolute carnage these causes to our own men. We obliterate like 3/4 of our own unit. We do some damage as well, but the fanatics are certainly a fickle beast, as over on this flank we're destroying plague monks, clan rats, Dakepoot loonies, certainly more elite, and have the flinging of fanatics down to a mastery. So Orc Boar Boys pushing into the back line, just running over Poison Wind Mortars. My opponent, though, is responding with Hell Pit Abominations and Rat Ogres, which is very scary stuff. And more of our Orc Boys who did push into the back line have slowly been shut down. We did manage to break off the Poison Wind Mortars, but Rat Ogres really nice in retaliation there. So Black Orc Big Boss is suffering quite badly because Assassin's Trophy is constantly being popped to him, but while it's going to keep these guys fighting a little bit longer, we are bogged down on some clan rats with spears, however. But Grom, having a whale of a time, does pop in here and break off some Plague Monks, and our entire Archer Corps is currently firing and completely unimpeded. So my opponent definitely wants to do something about that, and he retaliates by summoning some Plague Monks and pushing them towards the Rusty Arrows, which I'm going to have to micro away from. It's going to take away this fire support. Grom doing pretty decent though, all his buffs are popped, going after Skrull, who's incredibly squishy. However, being on the chariot does come with its downsides, of course. You can push through infantry very effectively, but killing ground troops can be a little bit tough. But still, getting some decent hacks here, but once again, the Hell Pit Abomination and Rat Ogres are starting to retaliate, and that was something my opponent did good all game, trying to go tit for tat, didn't let me get anything for free. So Jurassic Arrow is going to be falling back here. We do have some Night Goblin Fanatics hopping onto the Plague Monks, just to try to slow them down for as much as possible and allow our little archers to escape. I have completely forgotten about my Night Goblin Shaman for 99% of the game. I believe he uses 1 spell all game, so that could be quite telling on how this game does turn out. Goblin Wolf Chat, though, just roaming its way through the Poison Wind Mortars, shutting those guys down with help of the 8-peak loonies, and Goblins are fighting clan rat slaves across the battlefield. And this big blob, Black Orc Big Boss, hasn't managed to do too much this game. He's managed to pin in a ton of troops, and he is relatively tanky here, only up to 10 kills, so not the best use of him today, but still, he's been buffing the Orc Boar Boys, buffing these Goblins around him, allowing them to trade a little bit more effectively. My opponent has formed a nice little Doom Stack here. It looks like the nasty Rod of Corruption is going down as well. As for our Archer Corps, Savage Orc Arrow Boys just trying to pin in the Natty Bobu sharpshooters and run those guys out as quickly as possible. We do also have more chariots as well, kind of roaming in from all angles. We are getting pinned up with Rat Ogres and so forth. But if we can break the Natty Bobus there and chase them off, that's certainly going to be some good value for us. And our Archer Corps is once again back online. More summons are coming down clan rats, but we've been firing relatively consistent here. More Plague Monks have once again been summoned, so we're going to peel off Night Goblins to try and pin them in place, as Grom does start to roll dirty through the enemy here, flinging the assassin to the sides, trying to break clan rats, and yeah, just be a general annoyance overall. Fortunately, Black Orc Big Boss is fleeing here, being chased down by some Rat Ogres, and in the back line, we're using these very beat up Orc Boys and the Goblin Wolf Chat just to hunt down troops where possible and shatter them completely. We don't want all those nasty guys coming back. At this point, I do start to switch my arrow attention to the Hell Pit Abomination. Probably not the best idea. I think I should have gone after the Rat Ogres, as of course the Hell Pit will be regenerating a lot of this damage, but I suppose it gets him closer to his healing caps, who can tell. Over here we have managed to break the Plague Monks with the Savage Orc Arrow Boys, and Night Goblins as well come in to saturate on top to try and help deal with these Rat Ogres, but it is rather scary stuff. We are certainly going to be giving the lads a bit of an extra boon here, as Grom the Pawn should go for a cheeky hit and run. He's been doing that all game very successfully. The Black Orc Big Boss does manage to rally, but there's nothing I can do to get back to him here, so we're just going to pop get back here, give him that extra leadership and keep him fighting as long as possible, and try to get some of these Orc Boar Boys over in support. So we are falling back at this point. Orc Boar Boys can be kept in reserve. I really want to keep my archer line firing as much as possible. We still have the 2 Savage Orc Arrow Boys, and I know we can gather up these as extra unit as well as the Rusty Arrows where possible. So they're going to be falling back for now. Grom going once again for that snipe attempt, flinging Lord Skrull to the ground. However, Stand Your Ground has been popped. We've got all our buffs, but once again, I don't want to get bogged into an engagement with the assassin and Skrog and have that hell pit come over. So we're just going to be doing the hit and run tactics for now as we try and pull all our units back together. Now, this battle was an incredibly long battle here, which most games I feel like by this point have already been decided, but we are going to be going into that second phase where we're just trying to clean up enemy troops where possible and rally our own forces as well. Now, my opponent makes a good play here. He's going to be going into the trees, trying to shut down the Savage Orc Araboys where possible. I'm just not fast enough to escape such a hellish beast as this abomination here. So he's going to be falling to the trees, hunting down my troops, and using them to protect him, of course, from Grom, who is on a chariot, as well as all my Archcore. So Night Goblin Shaman finally realised that I hadn't been using him all game, did get a nice Vindictive Glare into the Hell Pit Abomination, and he's just going to be legging it through the trees. He is trying to be sneaky, my opponent does spot him, and is going to clearly eat him, unfortunately. We do fall back with Savage Orc Araboys over here, Night Goblins. We're going to try and rally around Grom, who's been used over on this flank to break off some Rat Ogres and rescue these Orc Ball Boys. On the back lines, I luckily managed to notice some purple shots coming my way, so I'm going to be pushing through with the Goblin Wolf Chariots here, and riding dirty towards these Warlock Giselles. And we're going to trudge along the ground. We're so tiny, it's ridiculous how small these chariots are. It's really quite funny. As, they're going to run over some of these sharpshooters and then wheel back again for another nice little attack. Now, we're not really trying to kill them all. We're just trying to break them. It's incredibly close to the edge of the board, and we should be able to force them off quite quickly. Some goblins as well, up to 117 kills. No idea what these guys were fighting. Are going to be forcing back the Boboos as well, and the Clan Rats, but realise we're going to be able to hunt them down. We're trying to come back to the main blob fight up on the hills. So Orc Ball Boys are rallying as well, and we're just desperately trying to get in as much Archer Fire as possible onto that Hell Pit, who's of course regenerating this entire time. And over here, my poor Night Goblin Shaman, 0 kills, 1 use of Winds of Magic, is going to get slaughtered here by an assassin. So big misplay from me though, well done to my opponent as well for punishing it, and keeping on him, hunting him down, and shattering him there. So we're still getting a tiny bit of fire into the Hell Pit. Of course, a lot of the arrows will be hitting the trees and so forth. We are going to be bringing back my Goblin Wolf Chariots, and all of these units are starting to rally. Balance power is still relatively even. That Hell Pit and the kind of hero blob going to be tough to deal with. So Grom is once again going to be swooping over here, trying to assassinate the assassin here, as the main battle is going to get underway. Savage Orc Araboys do get caught out of position, so hoping to flee back behind my Goblins and Night Goblins, but he does do a very nice summon here. So we are going to be retreating as quickly as possible, but Night Goblins don't simply have the mass to hold back a Hell Pit and so forth. So they do okay up against the Clan Rats. As you can see, Savage Orc Araboys are already wavering, as the AP Loonies and Goblin Wolf Chats are still trying to get back here. Grom doing what he does best, just nipping at the heels of this assassin before falling back. So my opponent does come in with the deathly Hell Pit here, trying to slap Grom a little bit. Now Grom can probably take this Hell Pit on with some effective cycle charge and so forth, but I don't really want to stay in long range combat, or not long range combat, but long duration up against them. Just wanted to use our extra mobility advantage here. Lucky Banner was popped as well, a little bit premature there. But I do see the Rat Ogres out of position, so we are going to be trying to hunt those guys down as we do lose this main blob. Some Fanatics have been flung here. I was trying to catch the hero caught on the assassin as it does come in. We did miss the assassin, but it does some pretty solid work here to the abomination. You can see it losing a ton of health there, as well as Lord Skrog, so every little does help here. We do have some Savage Orc Araboys once again online, trying to focus down the big beastie, but nasty Clan Rats are going to be shutting us down. So I'll fast forward a little bit here, as there's going to be a little bit of a tit for tat here and a little bit of chasing around. We do hop on top of the Rat Ogres in the trees and destroy them with Grom, as my opponent does start to chase down our archers as much as possible. We do pop on top of Lord Skrog, trying to bog him down here, and surround him with all these little goblins. He is very squishy himself, only rocking 30 armour, and Grom's getting in here as well, just going to be trying to run over troops where possible and do that hit and run tactics. The Great One is here, but he's going to be buffing up all nearby troops, which is really useful. These goblins all of a sudden actually coming with a decent melee attack, but it doesn't last too long. As you can see, rocking 40 melee attack on a unit of goblins is pretty funny. It's not doing too bad at all here. And yeah, Grom going to be once again fleeing for his life before coming back in for some decent cycle charges. My opponent summoning another unit of Clan Rats. He kept a lot of these summons for the late game, which is relatively a competitive choice. It can work pretty well as long as you don't need them to protect your front line. And Grom does have Assassin's Trophies popped on him, so once again going to be falling out for the meantime. We do have more Night Goblins rallying, Orc Ball Boys as well. We will make quite a nice splash into these Clan Rats. And Skrog at the Hell Pit is getting danger low here. 2,400 health. He actually has less health than Grom at this point. And in come the Orc Boys trying to pin him in, and we're simply going to swoop back around once again with Grom and kind of got a nice punch there on Skrog, push him into the belly of the Hell Pit Abomination. So not a good day for Skrog. He does actually get pushed through the model, which is kind of funny. The Hell Pit Abomination down to just 1,200 health. Need to really try and shut it down as quickly as possible in case he gets his healing proc. More Fanatics being used on the Clan Rats overall, doing some decent damage, and Night Goblins have managed to shatter some Clan Rats here. So big healing proc does go down for the Hell Pit Abomination, getting it all the way back up to 3,000 health, but luckily we've managed to break it just in time. If he had managed to stabilise his leadership, we could have been in big trouble. I did not want this guy getting that much health again. So I've got the paunch here, going to be nipping at his heels constantly, and I'm determined to force this off the field. If it's gone, it's pretty much a guaranteed victory for us at this point. Lord Scroll can be cycle charge to death, as well as this assassin by Grom. So even with the help out here, we still have a decent chance, but I really want to try and force him off as much as possible. So I'm going to fast forward here. We're simply trying to swarm Skrulk and Assassin, keep them away from the Hell Pit Abomination. There are some Rat Ogres coming back, their leadership is so shaky, and we do manage to force off the Hell Pit there. It's kind of funny, he actually leaves some Skaven Slave Spears behind, which is a little bit odd. We do hunt down the Rat Ogres, force them off the field, and it's going to come down to the final showdown, the ultimate showdown of Ultimate Destiny. So, the Assassin, he's just chilling for now. Him and Skrulk going to try and saturate on top of these Skaven Slaves. Balance power is heavily in my favour though, so we're just going to go for an all-in Death Strike. We're moving up with our Goblin Wolf Chariots, who have got up to 72 kills, not bad value at all. Goblin's going to be pouring in, Night Goblins and the Mighty Grom coming in, popping all his buffs. Assassin's Trophies is popped on him, but with his buffs, he's still a very powerful melee combatant. We can see we're countering on the minus 24 attack with a plus 24 attack, so we're a little bit more squishy, but we have a ton of health, we have regeneration, we've got good durability here, and we're simply going to start pounding down poor Lord Scroll here. These guys are going to start to break here. With Lord Scroll running, that is going to be a victory for us, but a very close game overall, so well played to my opponent. Let's do a tiny bit of analysis here. So Rancid Ghoul, well played to him. Actually played him back-to-back games, so that was pretty good fun overall. And his build's pretty cool. So basically, cheap and cheerful chaff, mixed with a couple of Plague Monks. So I like the idea of mixing these guys in to help chew through, goblins, orc boys, and so forth. Some of them did get nuked pretty heavily by Fanatics, however, and Grom managed to deal with the other one. Again, good for dealing with mass, poison wind mortars, and having the Juzails to try and take out characters. Luckily, we managed to use the train to our advantage, hide Grom as well, and he has regeneration, so he's pretty damn tanky. I quite like him against Skaven. He's good at pushing into the back line. Regeneration keeps him going, as well as the lucky banner. So yeah, close game overall. For my own forces, did quite a few little micro mismanagements, of course. The Night Goblin Shaman and getting the Black Orc Big Boss pinned up on the side. The Orc Ball Boys didn't do too much damage, but they're a huge nuisance. Stressed my opponent's micro, kept the Rat Ogres at the back of the formation, having to deal with them, which allowed us to swarm the front, overrun it, and eventually take down those mortars and Juzails and so forth. And yeah, you saw the fickle nature of the Fanatics there. One unit pretty much killing itself, whereas the other unit managed to dumpster some Plague Monks. So those things pretty damn wild overall and really good fun. I'm actually really enjoying the Goblin Wolf Chariot, a unit that I never really even thought of using before. But they have decent enough mass to push through the front line and be a real nuisance in the back lines. Very quick, can hunt down routing troops, shattering them, and getting fantastic value overall. Anyway guys, hope you did enjoy. If you did, please do consider giving me a big old thumbs up on the video and subscribing. It certainly helps out the channel overall and keeps you up to date on when I am dropping content. I do have a link to Discord as well just down below where you can submit replays, get involved in tournaments, or just have a nice chat with a load of cool people. I do currently have a ton of replays, which I'm going to be going through after this one, but I wanted to show off this build as I didn't really get too much of a time to play Grom before. I'm having good fun, using the new units. But guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.